Welcome everyone to the Indian River County meeting for the school board. We are in the Indian River County Commission building though, and we thank the commission for the use of this room. It is the evening school board awards and presentations. I ask out of respect to everyone, please silence all electronic devices. At this time, I'd like to call the meeting to order. The time is 5:30. At this time, I'd like to recognize the superintendent for a series of awards and presentations.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We do have four recognitions tonight, and I will turn it over to Public Information Officer Ms. Maddox for those presentations.
Thank you, Dr. Moore. It's a bit strange having my back to the audience tonight, but thank you everyone for being here. And our first presentation tonight is Casual for a Cause. And for those of you who are not familiar with Casual for a Cause, each month we have an organization that we fundraise for. So our students, teachers, and staff members, in exchange for a donation, are allowed to dress casually for the day. And last month, we did some fundraising for Treasure Coast Girls Coalition, and I'm happy to share that our school district raised $2,538.34. And we have Ms. Shayla Edwards, the executive director, Edwina Levine, a volunteer, and Vashante King, one of the Treasure Coast Girls Coalition parents here tonight. If you would please like to come up to the podium to receive your check.
Yeah.
Go right ahead.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you all so much for the opportunity to be here today. I wanted to take the opportunity to express sincere gratitude for being a grassroots mission that has been chosen for the support we're receiving tonight. As an organization that is just 3 years old, I can imagine where we're going with a seed I planted in the ground just 3 years ago. So I am just really, really thankful. There are some individuals that I'm probably going to forget, so I want to thank everybody for all their help, the entire community for embracing a vision that I've had in my heart for many, many years. But two people I want to make sure that I express gratitude for always, always supporting and cheering me on is Mr. Eric Seymour and Dr. Peggy Jones. Thank you all so much.
Okay.
1, 2, and 3.
Thank you. You're very welcome. For our next presentation, we would like to recognize some of our perfect audits in the district, and I would like to welcome Mr. Bruce Green, our CFO, to the podium.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Board. So as you know, every year we are audited. This year we had a single federal audit and a financial audit combined in one. The selected areas for the federal audit were food service and the ESSER funds that we received. And the annual audit, of course, is all of the financial statements, the internal controls, the procedures, the compliance, everything in almost a $400 million budget. So as you can imagine, there's a lot of work and effort that goes into that. Every 3 years, the Auditor General conducts that audit instead of us contracting with someone. And for last year's financials, that's who conducted the audit. And it's an honor to be able to say we had almost a nearly perfect audit in those areas. No internal controls, no compliance issues, nothing with a material or standard weakness. One additional matter out of the entire audit for some budgetary line items in 3 different areas. So I would just like to call up some of the people that are responsible for doing that work. Each of these individuals have their own fund that they manage individually, and then they come together collectively to do the work. And I can tell you they work a lot of late nights to get through this. So with that, I'd just like to recognize the following people. Kim Copeman, Director of Finance. Stephanie Letts, our accounting manager. Deb Heller and Jim Higgins, both are senior accountants. Kathy Heaton, our accounts payable manager. And Deb Gerthhofer, our staff accountant. And I would just like to recognize Carla Swain, our payroll manager, and Brittany Brown, our other staff accountant, who both of them could not be with us tonight. So thank you all for everything that you do.
One, two, and three.
So as part of that audit, as I mentioned, this year the single federal included food service, which there were no findings in that financial audit. However, the food service department got another layer of audits from the USDA, and I'm going to turn it over to Deputy Superintendent Bass to talk about that.
Good evening, through the chair. The food nutrition audit, the administrative review every 3 to 5 years, 5 years. I don't think that everyone in here, except for those two rows of people, know what's involved in that. So if you just bear with me, I'm going to give you a little opportunity to educate you on it. So every 5 years, USDA will come in and audit your food service program. Now, this is very complex. They look at the foods that you've purchased and the commodities that you've brought in. They take that information and they look at the number of meals you served. They audit your serving that you do. They audit your production record, how many meals served, how many you had to throw out, excess waste, things like that. They make sure that you have all the nutritional components in it. They check your recipes. And then they a lot of districts have to pay back money. That's why this audit is so critical. I have been in this realm for 20 plus years. I've never seen a perfect blemish-free audit on the administrative review. And that just speaks volumes for Dr. Simonton and her team. And Tracy, would you come up and introduce everybody that's here? Believe me, some of these audits for food service completely shatter a school district financially, because it's big money that you have to pay back. So Tracy, anything you'd like to say?
I appreciate all the support that I get from everybody in this room. Mr. Bass, I'm going to miss you greatly, but I couldn't do this without my amazing team that I have here as well. And I just wanted to take a moment to recognize them for all of their hard work. Where do I start? Melissa Tepurzer is in charge of putting together the recipes, making sure every food item meets the sodium requirements, that it's whole grain compliant. The recipes, everything having to do with nutritional information is all Melissa. Amy Exclusa is in charge of submitting the claim every month to the state, making sure that the meals that we are claiming are claimed under the appropriate category, free, reduced, or paid, to allow for the proper reimbursement to come back to our department. Oh, let's see, Wendy Washington McClellan, I almost did it. she got married on me. Wendy is new to our department this year. She is the field manager, and she goes around to the schools to make sure that all staff are following the policies and the procedures set forth by USDA. Shelley Geeson is actually a new hire, started with us in January, about 2 weeks before the audit came. But Shelley comes to us being a previous director from Ohio. So she has joined our team in charge of marketing and quality control. Part of the audit also includes looking at the meal applications, making sure, verifying that the income limit is not exceeded. But between these 4 ladies and myself, you have over 100 years of experience in child nutrition. So that's huge, speaks volumes to our dedication to our children. In addition, like Mr. Bass said, they also visited several school sites. And I have the managers here who are in charge of the operations in those specific facilities. Let me think. Crystal Molnar is at Sebastian River Middle School. Stephanie Garcia is at Sebastian River High School. And Jackie Ramirez is at Dodgertown Elementary. Again, with these ladies and all the other managers in their role, making sure that every child receives the meal that they should be getting. They have their fruits, their vegetables, all their components. So again, every single one of you, I appreciate all your hard work and dedication. We couldn't have done this without you. You are excellent role models and excellent employees, and I'm so glad you're on my team.
One, two, and 3.
Next, we have our Safety and Security Spotlight, and I would like to welcome Mr. John Teskey up to the podium. Thank you, John.
Thank you, Kristen. Good evening, board members, Dr. Moore, cabinet, all seated guests. On behalf of Mr. Seymour and myself, we're here once again to acknowledge and recognize another outstanding School District of Indian River County employee for this month's Safety and Security Spotlight. Tonight, we welcome a veteran employee, someone who is serving and working currently at Vero Beach High School. He was a former athletic coach, he's a current mentor, and a friend to all students. I'd like to ask Dean Robert Leslie to come up and stand in front of us, please. Dean Leslie, also known as Coach Leslie, is here tonight with his family and friends. I didn't know you had a first name till a few days ago because you've been Coach Leslie to me for about 20 years. My wife reminded me, said, John, do you know his first name? I said, honestly, I don't. He's just Coach Leslie. So Rob Leslie, now Dean Leslie, is also joined by his administrative staff from Vero Beach High School, his assistant principals, and Mr. O'Keefe. Thank you all for coming tonight to honor him. He's being honored tonight for his outstanding service and dedication and commitment to Vero Beach High School's safety and security protocol. His selfless service and constant focus on security has ensured Vero Beach High School and all of its stakeholders stay safe each and every day. Coach Leslie has initiated new and positive safety and security protocols when dealing with the cell phone use policy, the open gate metal detectors, assisting the school security monitors, and all the while he's serving as one of the deans by enforcing the code of conduct. I have witnessed him firsthand during the school's monthly emergency drills, assisting with the special needs students, clearing their classrooms, and then communicating clear and precise directions back to his administrative team and school resource deputies. His day starts bright and early at 6 a.m., assisting with the student body entering through the metal detectors. He's always on the move, monitoring the hallways, restrooms, working alongside the school security staff. There hasn't been one occasion where I've walked down the administrative hallway and peered into your office, Coach Leslie, and I didn't see you with students. You're always counseling, mentoring, or disciplining students, but your safety-first mindset and your boots-on-the-ground mentality is ensuring that Vero Beach High School stays safe every day. So from all of us at the School District of Indian River County, thank you, Coach Leslie, for going the extra mile and keeping us safe. Yeah.
1, 2, and 3.
So back in February was Career and Technical Education Month, and on February 22nd, we hosted our CTE Community Showcase Tour, where several community members joined us to tour Treasure Coast Technical College, Vero Beach High School, and Sebastian River High School to experience the secondary and post-secondary CTE programs that we offer. From cutting-edge technology labs to dynamic hands-on experiences, our CTE programs empower students to explore their passions and prepare for successful careers in various industries. Get ready to witness the real-world projects, industry certifications, and impactful partnerships that make our CTE community thrive.
In recognition of Career and Technical Education Month, CTE Month, the School District of Indian River County held a CTE Community Showcase Tour, which highlighted the variety of CTE programs available at Sebastian River High School, Vero Beach High School, and Treasure Coast Technical College. This tour allowed our community and partner organizations to tour each campus to gain a deeper understanding of the many career and technical education programs available to our students. Through CTE, students can explore their interests, gain real-world experience, and develop the technical and employability skills needed to excel in their chosen fields. CTE plays a crucial role in preparing students for success in high-demand careers and post-secondary education. These programs provide students with the knowledge, skills, and hands-on experience necessary to thrive in today's workforce.
So tonight we have Principal of Treasure Coast Technical College, Mrs. Christy Shields, and our Culinary Arts Program teacher and students. If you all would stand in the back, please. So the beautiful pastries that you enjoyed as you entered the meeting, or if you have not gotten any of them yet, please, when you exit the meeting, make sure that you stop by the pastry table. We are not eating them in the chamber. Just want to make note of that, because no food is allowed. But I'm sure if it were, everyone in here would have a pastry. So anyways, thank you so much for the freshly baked pastries. And I have to admit that when we first came for the tour, I said to Dr. Moore, I said, I think they got these from Panera, because they were so beautiful and they were in the little professional baskets. And sure enough, you guys, you beat Panera hands down 10 times better. So thank you for being here tonight. And thank you, board members, you have in front of you each of your little boxes of pastries. And those are from our culinary arts students. So enjoy. And thank you again for being here. And that concludes presentations.
And just want to congratulate all that were recognized tonight, whether it is in the cafeteria under a federal audit, auditing the systems and structures for a $400 million, nearly a $400 million budget, absolutely monumental, keeping our students safe. The re-envisioning and recreation of our career technical education programs. This, although it be short recognition ceremony, is a direct reflection of all the hard work and commitment that our teachers, staff, and administrators put to work each and every single day. So congratulations.
Okay. All right, this will conclude our awards and presentations for this evening. The time is 5:50. We will be having a presentation before our meeting. You are welcome to stay or not. It's an invocation. Thank you. in case we needed to. You want to add anything?
Amen. Have a good one.
All right, we're going to get started in about, 30 seconds. Good evening, everyone. For those of you just joining us, I would like to welcome you to the school board business meeting. Today, we are having our business meeting in the Indian River County Commission chambers, and we thank them for allowing us to do so. It is Monday, March 18th, and I would like to call this meeting to order. The time is 6 o'clock. I ask out of respect to everyone, please silence all of your devices. And also, if you have any material you wish to share with any board members, please hand it at this time to our executive assistant, Mrs. Morey. The Pledge of Allegiance will be led by Vero Beach High School's Air Force Junior ROTC Detachment 043 under the direction of Major Retired Dean Rasdale and Senior Master Sergeant Retired Sean Rood. Please stand.
Hold. Left. Face. Present. Colors. Ladies and gentlemen, will you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Order. Colors. Post. Right. Face. Forward. Arch.
We'd like to thank our ROTC members. It was also nice that we had a flyover during that. All right, at this time, board members, I'm asking for an adoption of the orders of the day. Are there any items that board members wish to move from consent to action or add to discussion?
Yes,
Ms. Rosario?
I'd like to add public comment to discussion. And I'd like to just ask or remind the superintendent or have him add the code of conduct.
Yes, ma'am. So if you're ready, Madam Chair, I'd like to add the following action item, which shall read as follows: to add the following statement in Section 5, page 40 of our Student Code of Conduct.
42, sorry.
We'll look. I would like to add the following statement in our Code of Conduct, and page yet to be determined. That simply reads, student identification cards must be worn on their person and visible during the instructional day and while utilizing SDIRC transportation to and from school. And I'll present the item at the appropriate time.
Okay, any other board member items?
Yes, ma'am, I'd like to add a discussion, HB 1557 settlement. I've talked with Dr. Moore and Mr. Ansbacher, and I would just like them to have a review for that for our teachers, students, parents, and administrators.
Thought we had a short agenda. Anyone else? Any items moving from consent to action? All right, can I get a second? On Mrs. Rosario's.
Second.
Oh, on Mrs. Rosario's.
Second.
All right. Jones. Second on the superintendent
Second.
item, okay. Second on the HB 1557 settlement. I'll second that. All right. I'd like to call then for a motion to accept all of the adoption of the orders of the day as amended.
So moved.
Dr. Posca,
Second.
Dr. Jones. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Okay, passes 4-0. Thank you. Okay, let me make sure I'm following our agenda here. Superintendent's report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We do have a presentation this evening, and for this evening's presentation, we thought it would be very exciting to kind of review all of the work that's been done over the course of the last month. So the report that you have today kind of captures all of the events and activities over the course of our last board meeting till today. And we'll start off with February 15th with our Employee Health and Wellness Fair, which was a tremendous success. We actually had a competition to see which office had the highest level of competition, and it was Mr. Bass' office who was able to have the highest level of competition. So in the future, they will be the healthiest office that we have. In February, I had the opportunity to take all of our secondary administrators, we spoke a little bit about that this morning, into two schools in the inner city in Miami to look at the systems and structures that they have created. And it was just a great opportunity to see, the work that we're striving to do, and in some cases doing significantly better, while at the same time problem solve and define what are our natural next steps to ensure that we are a top-performing school district in Indian River County. Great conversation, great dialogue, and great action planning as a result of that visit. We were able to award our high-impact grants. As you know, these are individual teachers who are doing innovative things in and around their schools and in their classrooms. So we are excited to have Glendale, Osceola, and Sebastian River High School support the innovative thinking of our teachers through these high-impact grants. FPL Classroom Makeover. I see Dr. Bacon in the background. He's not here for this. He's here to celebrate Mr. Bass. But on February 22nd, many of us had the opportunity to unveil the new innovative space brought to you by the FPL Classroom Makeover. And this is a classroom that is state-of-the-art, high levels of technology, integration, drones. You see a student in this picture here just loving it, really transforming what students are doing in a classroom. So we're very proud to be able to bring that to our students. We just watched the tour, and some of us are tasting the delights of our adult students at Treasure Coast Technical College. We had the opportunity really to go around, look at each Vero Beach High School, Sebastian River Senior High School, as well as the Technical Arts Center, really ensuring everyone in our community has a deeper understanding of all of the programs that are available in CTE. I've always said it's one of the questions that I'm asked the most, and it's one of the areas in which we have grown the most. So having the opportunity to connect our community with those services and those programs was absolutely outstanding. We pushed out, and we'll talk about this in some coming slides. Last 2 weeks ago, we took our final iReady assessment. We are one district that takes it extremely early, as soon as we possibly can. Why do we do that? To have the most appropriate and up-to-date information as we lead into that final push for our assessment. So we wanted to motivate our students. We had iReady challenges, both in elementary and K-8, honoring and celebrating the faculty who had the highest level of growth, and ensuring we're also acknowledging and celebrating our students by having a little fair carnival. Let me not overspeak, as I said carnival 2 years ago, and we had to spend a lot more money than we anticipated. We are very committed to Downtown Friday, which is the last Friday of every month. We highlighted Brooke Flood in her early learning program services at the particular school. It was just a great time to hang out with our community, answer questions, really have intimate conversations, whether it be about early childhood or anything else in our community. It was a long evening, but very fruitful in terms of the conversations and relationships that we're able to create during that space. That's an awful picture of me, so I will not stay here very long, but this was the opportunity for me on ESPN to throw out the first pitch at the Andre Dawson Classic, which is our historical black university and colleges coming to Indian River County to have that tournament. I did not make it all the way to home base, but the catcher did pick me up and I think a ball out of the ground. We are committed, as you know, to development, so you're going to see a couple of slides. This is February 27th. Really investing in our assistant principals. One of our big pushes this year is to ensure that all of our administrators, just not our principals, are instructional leaders. Each of our assistant principals are assigned to a grade level or a content area in our secondary schools. They own it. They are responsible for it. They support the teachers. They support getting them what they need and making sure they're getting barriers and obstacles out of the way so we can hit the very lofty goals that we've set for ourselves. So significant improvement from our assistant principals as a result of that commitment. Our ESC Parent Advisory Council meeting, this was the superintendent's meeting. This has always been a meeting I look forward to. Great reports. We will be separating and we're creating basically 2 superintendent advisory councils here, one for our gifted students while continuing to engage in that conversation and continuing to improve the quality of services for those students, while at the same time with our ESC parents as well, continuing to have that conversation. Just a lot of improvement over the last year specifically in turning this work around. Still work to be done. And the feedback that these parents give us and the push that they provide for us really, really helps us move this work forward. And here obviously is our principals meeting. Once again, very individualized plans for them, looking at them as just not instructional leaders, but CEOs, leaders of very, very expensive organizations that they are leading, having hundreds of people work for them, really putting systems in place so we can grow them. And they have responded in absolutely outstanding way. Very proud of what they're able to do on their schools on a daily basis. I know many are here today, not for this presentation from Mr. Bass, but very, very proud of the work that they're doing. We've also had our College and Career Expo. This is the opportunity at both our schools to allow our 9th grade students to get access to the programming or the CTE programs that are available at their particular schools. It's incentivized because if you come, you get early selection to those vocational programs. So they're both very well attended. And once again, it's making sure a student is fully aware of all of the program offerings at each of our high schools. We finally have opened, I say finally, it has come very, very, very quick, the Billy Wilson Track and Field at the Jimmy Graves Sports and Community Complex. It's open to our students for a supervised practice. It's still basically a construction site. We're in the process of finalizing the plans for the concession stand, the seating, the stadium, the surrounding connection, the entranceway that will lead into the park. All of that is in plan process, so we're looking forward to get beyond this soft opening and having it wide open for complete use. Also want to acknowledge this is a lot of music and arts going during the month of March, so Music Changes Lives, that is Music Month. Also have Youth Art Month during the March of 2024. With all of the impacts of finances in Florida over the last several years, this county has remained committed to the performing and visual performing arts, and we will maintain that commitment to our students to make sure they get academics, absolutely, but they get a full range of services and support, which includes the visual and performing arts, and we are committed to that in our school district. Women's History Month, also celebrating over the course of this month. This is, and you'll see the banner right down there, the city of Indian River County, or Indian River County actually, hosted a awards ceremony where they acknowledged individuals who received their Golden Impact Award. and they were able to surprise us in giving us one of those awards, so we were very happy to accept that. They were acknowledging that we are an A school district. Tomorrow morning, we'll be back here at the Chambers where they will do a proclamation for us, honoring the leadership of our board and all of our leaders and teachers for moving this school system to an A. We cannot forget Dr. Seuss Day. Had the opportunity to go see green eggs and ham and green slime and all kinds of other green things on this day. But to see the kids connected was very, very rewarding for me. It is also March 3rd through the 9th was Social Worker Week, so we acknowledge and celebrate our social workers. In that shark outfit, that's actually Mr. Bass in one of those. No, I'm kidding, it's not. But we did celebrate March 4th through the 8th, and the outstanding team who was here, those are the people that are in those shark outfits, just going through, celebrating School Breakfast Week and increasing our students' participation in that program. This is the Sebastian River College and Career Expo, once again, very well attended. Mathletes Middle School Challenge. This was something that we thought of doing something a little bit different. So rather than just taking a mid-year assessment for Algebra 1 and Geometry, we said let's call them mathletes, kind of like athletes, and let's give them real-world challenges using the content and instruction that they've been exposed to solve those problems. So not only did they have to master the math content, they also had to problem solve and collaborate together. So we had all 4 schools competing virtually at the same time to determine who were our top 10 winners in each of the different categories. So later in the week, we had the opportunity to celebrate all of our mathletes. It was absolutely outstanding, and you'll see a picture of that coming. We are also very committed to growing our assistant principals and our principals, but equally committed to growing our district leaders. We have a district leadership symposium, which is 4 to 5 times a year, and this is really growing the skills needed to enhance and move our strategic plan forward. So very focused development around creating and supporting those leaders and the skills that they need to have to fully implement what is a very aggressive strategic plan. So it's always been great conversation, great pushing, and as a result, great growing of our leaders. One of the things that we were able to push out this year at that symposium has been about a 3 or 4 month process where we're looking at our onboarding process for all of our employees. So we identified the opportunity really to problem solve, look across the entire organization to enhance when we bring an employee into our school system, whether it be at a school, a district office, or one of our facilities, they feel accepted, they feel embraced, they know where to get information from, and as a result, they'll stay with us longer and become part of our family even quicker. So this has been an absolutely great deal of work, and you see in this presentation, you have individuals from multiple offices who came together and looked at that body of work from their perspective in order to ensure we're being comprehensive and welcoming individuals into our school system. And then this is the Community Resource Fair, which was the opportunity, it was Team Success that held this event, and this was the opportunity for us really to go out and connect with all of the not-for-profit nonprofits that are in our community. We probably have more on our size of a district than most counties throughout our state. And for us to connect with them and have the opportunities to make sure we're maximizing all of their resources, supporting their mission, and connecting them to our kids has always been something that's very, very important to us. While at the same time, us, having a table and answering questions or issues that may arise was an outstanding day. Just last week, at this time last week, I had the opportunity to speak at the Youth Sailing Fundraiser. This was the opportunity to give an update on our school system, where we are, and where we are going. Very well received. And then earlier last week, we had the Vero Beach City Council Moonshot Proclamation. That was the opportunity really to talk through and reinforce to our community that we are number 5 in the state of Florida in students scoring at level 3 or above in reading. And we want to continue to support that work to get even higher. And then these are our Superintendent iReady Challenge winners. Sebastian River Middle School, 1 for our middle schools, and then Treasure Coast Elementary School, one of our largest elementary schools, 1 for elementary schools. I've clicked so much. Okay, and that concludes the presentation. I thought I had one or two more. All right, so in summary, it's been a very, very busy month. This is just a typical month for us, but we continue to push and looking forward for this final push over the next couple of weeks. I can tell you, board members, this is not a school system that's going to ease into spring break. We will be very aggressive. We have data meetings all week this week in order to ensure when we take spring break, we can rest and relax because we know all of the planning is in place when we return for that final push. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, sir. Okay, at this time, we're going to, I'm going to read the guidelines for citizen input.
We have
and
two
then-
proclamations.
Oh, sorry. You said thank you, sir. I thought you were done.
But no, with that moment presentation.
So tonight, we'd like to recognize a very important month, Vaping Awareness Month, and I would like to ask our presenters, Mrs. Sarah Ainge, our Coordinator of Mental Health and Social Services, and Mrs. Heather Holden, our Director of Student Services, to come and introduce our presenters.
Good evening. It has been my pleasure to work closely this school year with the Substance Awareness Center of Indian River County. The partnership formed between SDIRC has led to every student in grades 6 through 12 to receive the opportunity to receive a lesson on the dangers of vaping, as well as healthy choices to substitute the addiction. The month of March is dedicated to vaping awareness, and here tonight we have Carrie Lester, Executive Director of the Substance Awareness Center of Indian River, Michelle Bildo, Director of Prevention and Community Outreach, and Kylie Savoy, Data and Outcomes Manager with the Safer Coalition of Indian River, to read our vaping proclamation.
All right, thank you. I'm going to go ahead and start with reading the March proclamation for Vaping Awareness Month. Whereas the federal government declared youth e-cigarette use or vaping a nationwide epidemic, and whereas youth vaping has increased dramatically across the country and in Florida. Whereas in 2022, 23.3% of high schoolers and 13.2% of middle schoolers have tried e-cigarettes. And whereas e-cigarettes are unsafe for kids, teens, and young adults, and e-cigarettes typically contain nicotine, which is a highly addictive chemical, and the developing youth brain is more vulnerable to its effects, including reduced impulse control, deficits in attention and cognition, and mood disorders.
Whereas e-cigarette aerosol is not harmless water vapor, and the aerosol that users breathe from an e-cigarette device and exhale can contain harmful and potentially harmful substances, including cancer-causing chemicals and heavy metals such as nickel, tin, and lead. Whereas the focus of March 2024 is to get accurate information about youth and e-cigarette use into the hands of our students and parents, which is an important step to reversing the alarming trends in our schools. And whereas Indian River County is committed to the goals and objectives of Vaping Awareness Month through a variety of public health activities and programs. Now, therefore, the School Board of Indian River County hereby proclaims March 2024 as Vaping Awareness Month. Adopted this day, 18th day of March 2024.
Good evening. My name's Carrie Lester. I'm the Executive Director of the Substance Awareness Center of Indian River County, and I just want to thank you tonight as a parent and a prevention partner for your attention and your focus on the vaping epidemic. As we heard, vaping puts our youth at risk for serious and potentially lifelong health consequences. In addition, their brains are still developing, making them far more susceptible to addiction, to mood disorders, or deficits in cognition and attention. I do have a little bit of good news that overall, as a county, we have seen reductions in our past 30-day vaping of marijuana and vaping of nicotine. And it is our hope that through our joint education and our continued community collaborations, we'll continue to see a downward trend. And again, we just want to thank the School Board of Indian River County for their partnership and their attention on this matter.
We're going to vote on the proclamation first. Okay. I just didn't know if we had another speaker. I saw several people. Okay, we're good. Before we vote on it, something I brought up this afternoon was that we had 3 vaping bills in Tallahassee this year. All 3 died in committee. And when I go on campuses and speak to students, I ask them about vaping, and they say, it's an epidemic, it's out of control, kids can't help themselves. So we need to do something about it, so I appreciate this, but we need to do more, I thank you. All right, at this time, board members, I get a motion to adopt our proclamation today.
So moved.
Okay, we got a first and a second over here, okay. Mr. Rosario and Dr. Jones. And all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. It passes 4-0. Thank you all. Put the photo.
All right, here we go. Whew. All right. So the next item is a proclamation for our Deputy Superintendent, Mr. Scott Bass. We do have Cabinet who's been rehearsing all day to read the proclamation, but I can just say from a personal perspective, when I was hired to be the superintendent of the school district of Indian River County, and they gave me like 14, 15 days to contract prior to starting in January, it was about day 3 or 4 where I came to the understanding, like, what in the world did I get myself into? I come from a very large urban district, and the politics are hot and heavy, but they're nothing like a small town. So, everyone like, yeah, we know. So I immediately began to assess my skills and my abilities and look for a solution that can ensure longevity. I actually met Mr. Bass at the, what was it, the FADS, the Joint FADS Conference. I'm not going to tell the total story, but it was then I said, would there or could there be an opportunity in which he could come a sitting superintendent and come serve as a deputy superintendent, really to help me transform this system and do it in a way that would right-size the system, just not for the time that we were collectively here, but for a very, very, very long time. I don't know how I did it, but I was able to convince Mr. Bass to move his family, come join us here in Indian River County, and help support our principals, many of which, or most of which, are here today, support a large number of offices, and support me, be a friend to me, have opportunities to give me guidance and support. So where we sit today as an A school system, the most improved school district on the Treasure Coast, I'm sorry, in the state of Florida, I don't think would be possible without the support and leadership of Mr. Bass. So personally, cannot thank him enough for his commitment in coming here, and now we're going to read your proclamation. Go ahead.
Whereas it is with profound gratitude and deep appreciation that we recognize the distinguished career of Mr. Scott Bass, Deputy Superintendent of the School District of Indian River County, upon his retirement, and
Whereas Mr. Bass has devoted 4 years of unwavering dedication, passion, and leadership to the advancement of education within our community, consistently leading with dedication, passion, and integrity, bringing dreams of the district to reality, and building a team that has thrived and achieved great success. And
whereas Mr. Bass has greatly impacted all departments with his positive relationships and work with the unions in a manner that has increased the positive interactions and expectations between staff and administration and management. And whereas Mr. Bass's leadership has supported physical plant and facilities with steady and consistent follow-through on important facilities projects. And
Whereas Mr. Bass increased transportation safety and transparent ridership with the approval of the Z-Pass system, which requires the use of student ID badges to identify student ridership each day, and
whereas Mr. Bass has demonstrated an unwavering commitment to the enhancement of athletic facilities, fostering a culture of excellence and inclusivity within our school community, and
whereas his innovative ideas and tireless dedication have transformed aspirations into reality, providing students with the state-of-the-art amenities through the construction of the Bill Wilson track and Vero Beach High School beach volleyball courts, and
whereas Mr. Bass has always been available to attend department and staff recognition events, which was much appreciated by the leaders and staff members, and whereas Mr. Bass embarks on this new chapter of his journey, it is fitting that we express our deepest gratitude, admiration, and best wishes for a retirement filled with joy, fulfillment, and well-deserved relaxation.
Now, therefore, let it be proclaimed that on March 18th, 2024, we honor and celebrate the remarkable career of Mr. Scott Bass, Deputy Superintendent of the School District of Indian River County, extending our heartfelt thanks for his unwavering dedication, remarkable contributions, and enduring legacy of excellence in education. His leadership is the epitome of a champion. Adopted this 18th day, March 2024.
Mr. Bass, would you like to say anything?
I would.
Maybe they should approve it first?
Go ahead.
Not yet.
I'm kidding. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Usually I don't talk much at board meetings for a couple of reasons. Number one, I don't want to make the meeting any longer than they usually run. And number two, Dr. Moore kind of gets a little squeamish when I have the mic because I think he doesn't really know what I'm going to say. But I just, you think about the day that you're going to retire, and it gets there a lot quicker than you think it will. I mean, it doesn't seem that long ago that I was sitting in a classroom in Glades County, and I was getting on the internet with a dial-up 14.4 modem. And I was excited when I got the 28.8 because it was a lot faster. And you think about the things that you see over a lifetime, and I think about the things I've seen over a lifetime in education, and the changes and the trends and how things come and go. So it has been an extremely, extremely rewarding profession. I feel like I want to see people back here too. Rewarding profession. And I think it's been rewarding because the work is great, but it's the people that you encounter. It's the students you encounter, it's the parents you encounter, it's the community members that you encounter. And building that bond and that relationship. That was something I saw early on that, if you were going to be successful in public education, you had to treat everyone with the utmost respect. Back when I was a kid, you respected an adult because they were an adult. Things have changed. If you respect that student in your classroom, guess what? You will never have a discipline problem. Never will. And if there's any teachers watching that, please, I want you to hear that. You respect a kid, they're going to respect you back. And the same goes with working with staff. It has been a great 4 years. It's been a fast 4 years here in Indian River County. I mean, it doesn't seem like that long ago, principals, we were sitting in the TEC, and I was trying to figure out just what in the heck social distancing was. It just didn't make sense. Social distancing, how does that even happen? but, you know, we made it through. I want to thank some people. And I want to start with my wife and my family. It seems like all of my years in public education, there has been a gravitational pull away from the time that I could have and should have been spending with my family. And I appreciate you, Shannon, supporting that. And my kids, too. Thank you, I love you all. Cabinet. And I've enjoyed working with each and every one of you, and I've made some friendships that are going to last forever. You know, who would have thought me and a 6'9" guy would become as good of friends as we are, and golfing partners and everything else. And I appreciate each and every one of you. Eric, you're special to me, and I just appreciate it. And Beth, it has been a pleasure working with you the past 2 years, trying to instill as much knowledge that I have, whether it's right or wrong. Just remember, be confident. I think it's right. But it's truly been wonderful. And, you know, being in a school district for 26 years and taking a plunge and going into a new district, you don't really know what you're going to get. And the directors that I've got to work side by side with are second to none. School board, Indian River County, you have got an unbelievable group of educational leaders. And I know Dr. Long is here, Ms. Krista Foley, Dr. Simonton, who is here, who left, Ms. Idolette, oh, she is still here, Ms. Idolette with transportation, Dr. Sue with HR, Nick Westenberger, and Bob Michael with facilities. I mean, these people are second to none. It just really made my job easier and enjoyable, and we were able to accomplish things. Principals that are here, it has been a pleasure getting to know you, to see you grow, to work through things. I don't know how many phone calls I've gotten from some of you, text messages, and it was always, your heart's always in the right place, and that should make everyone in this county feel grateful for the principals that we have in this district, because I can't think of a single time in which I had a conversation with a principal that they were not trying to do what was best for their students. And, as wrong as this may sound, you don't get that everywhere. You don't get that everywhere. You get some people that are just looking for that paycheck. But these principals, they care. It's great to see some of you here who were APs and to see you come through the system and stepped into the principal role. The students in this school district are in good hands, great hands. Board, I appreciate it very much. I know a couple of you were on, 3 of you were on board when Dr. Moore brought my name to you. I appreciate you having the confidence in me. I've enjoyed working with you. I've enjoyed getting to know you as friends. I think I can call each and every one of you a friend, and that's big to me. That is big. And Dr. Moore, I appreciate it, because, Dr. Moore is from a large urban district. I came from the 5th smallest district in the state of Florida, out in the country. Looks a lot different than it does in Indian River County. I was just thrilled that we actually have resources, financial resources, because the district I was in, there was no frivolous spending because there wasn't any money. There's not to say there's frivolous spending here, but it was you're able to do things. See, that's one of those things where you get kind of cringes when I talk. But I appreciate you letting me come on this journey because I'm going to tell a story. I'm going to tell my version a little bit. It was prior to the pandemic, and Dr. Moore, Mr. Meyer, who is here, and myself, we might have been out in an establishment. And we were talking about, we've all been in the district I was only here for 3 weeks before the pandemic happened. But I was here long enough to know, wow, we've got some changes to make. And I'm going to take the liberty to say this. And some of you principals who were in the role then, you'll know. Our administrative staff were paralyzed because they were not afforded the opportunity to make decisions, to run their schools like they should run it. Dr. Moore, we've got to empower our people. We've got to empower our leaders. Don't come to the district and ask permission for everything you're going to do. You're in that school. You know what's best. You're in that department. You know what's best. Do it. And we're just going to hope we don't screw anything up. And if we do, we'll fix it. But let's just move forward. And we were at that establishment, and it was like we were talking, and it was like, wow. You know what would really be cool is if we could just strip the district down to bare bones and start over again. Just start over again. Different systems, different procedures, expectations. Just strip it down and start over. That was, I believe, Monday of the week that we had the conference call with the governor on Friday and said, we are closing school for the rest of the year. I looked at Mr. Meyer, I looked at Dr. Moore. They were like two kids in the candy shop. Oh my gosh, we're closing school. And they were like, their wheels are spinning like, we're going to break it down. We're going to break the school district down and basically start over again. We're a district now, the most improved district in the state. And, you know, the pandemic, I don't care which side you're on with it. I know the side I'm on with the pandemic. It provided this school district the opportunity to clear the slate and start over and look at where we're at now. That is because of your leadership, sir. And, you know, school board, I'll go ahead and tell you this. You need to do everything in your power moving forward to keep this leader in this county. Being a superintendent for almost 8 years, assistant superintendent prior to coming here for 9 years, I've met every superintendent and every deputy superintendent and assistant superintendent over the past 20-some-odd years. He's one of the tops. And you need to do what you can do to keep him here. And lastly, the students and families that I've come in contact with and I've met through the last 4 years and that my family has met, just really appreciate developing those relationships. You know, again, coming from another place, you wonder how are things going to fit in? How are we going to fit in? How is my family going to fit in? And I think from weekend one, we made some of the best friends that we've had in the past 4 years. Just a testament to Indian River County. So thank you so much. And Mr. Teskey, I see you there. Mr. Teskey was with me when we first started, and you know, I appreciate what you and our law enforcement officers do, and I wish Captain Thornton was here to thank him for all the many conversations we've had about school safety and keeping our kids safe. But anyway, thank you so much. I'm sorry I added to the meeting. I'm glad we didn't start the clock. So.
Before we vote, I think board members would all like to have a little say as well. We get to talk about this. Ms. Rosario?
Let me see. I hold on to your comment about friendship and I take it to heart. And it is absolutely true. And I am grateful for you coming here, and your wife and your family, of course. I don't know if you're actually going to stay anywhere here or if you're going back to Glades. I'm guessing you're going back to Glades. If
In a couple of
not,
months, yeah.
I do hope that you come around and that you make yourself visible. Friendship wishes, friends wish friends the best. I pray for you. I pray for you and your family. I pray for what is to come, for your travels, and for blessings upon blessings. And I do pray that God would extend your territory and so much more. Thank you so much for everything that you did for the school district, for being here, and I'm extremely sorry that you are leaving, but also extremely happy for you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Dr. Jones?
Mr. Bass, before I was on the board, I attended one of the first negotiation meetings that you attended. I think you'd been here about a week, and you were meeting with the IRCEA. And what I noticed that you set a tone. You set a tone of understanding, you set a tone of listening, and you set a tone of positive feedback. I noticed that. I think it was, I know you had just come in. So that was my first.
Dr. Jones, that was my second day on the job.
Okay, I remember it. I know when you first came here, I know Ms. Christofoli is our principal contact now, but when you first came here, you were a principal contact. And I never had that as a principal. We went straight to the superintendent, but having that person, you know, who has lived it, who has experienced it, who has been there, if you will, it is just a good thing for principals, because I agree 100%. The principals we have in this district, they are always trying to do the right thing, always. And sometimes that's hard, or sometimes we don't have the funding, but they need someone to talk to, and that was a positive. You know, your updates on legislation with what you send us, what Ms. Berenborg sends us, what FSBA sends us, I can bring it all together and figure it out. And it is helpful when we receive those things. Obviously, you work with HR and personnel, and I know you worked hard every meeting to make sure we got those people on the board agenda, because your priority was getting them to the schools and getting them ready for our kids. One thing that I always believe is very, very important for anybody in the school district is to respond when a question is asked. And whether I emailed you or texted you or called you or saw you on the football field, you were always responsive. What you've done for athletic fields, not only the new turf, the beach volleyball, the Wilson track, will forever live in this district. I've gone by the Wilson track several times. I know our kids are practicing on it. But those are the kind of things that will mean so much to the community. That area is where a lot of children grew up. A lot of our children grew up. So that is really, really cool. I guess one thing I wrote down too is that you show up, whether it's a recognition or a long committee meeting. I've on some of those with you in the community. You show up, and to me, half the battle is showing up, just showing up every day. I wish you and your family the best. Thank you for these 4 years. You'll be in my thoughts and prayers.
Thank you. Can I interject one more thing?
Mm-hmm.
And where did she go? There you are. I see you. And I did not mean to leave you out. I'm going off the cuff here, but thanks, Dr. Jones, for reminding me. Dr. Jones for reminding me. Both our unions, our instructional and our non-instructional, great leadership. Jennifer, you and I have developed a working relationship that I would put up against any school district and teachers union in the state. You know, so many times when the public hears about the union, they think, oh my goodness, it's, you know, them versus them and stuff. We can't be that way. You've got to make sure that our students have adults in the room that are in a good place. And the only way that you can do that is collaboratively collaboratively working with our teachers union and also our non-instructional union. So Jennifer, thank you for everything you have done, and I've really enjoyed our relationship. And just like I told you on the phone the other day, you're good. And I appreciate it. And also, I don't think anybody from CWA is here, but you know, I really enjoyed working with Mike Murray and Maureen Weisberg in their presidency too. So sorry, thank you for the reminder.
Dr. Pasca?
Thank you so much for your service here in the district, and I know you're going to be missed by a lot of people, so I wish you the best.
Thank you.
We still have a golf date at
Yes.
some point. Can't wait to take money from you.
You gotta give me some strokes.
You made a comment, people you encounter. That's the one thing that I will take away from knowing you. We have sat in meetings across the state. We've been in Tampa at a breakfast meeting. We were in Tallahassee at a breakfast meeting. I don't know how many people you know across the state, but they all know you. They all come up to you constantly, and I think it's because you're so darn personable. And that charisma that you carry has really helped, I think, change a lot of things here in our district. And I know, you know, not that you're not personable, Dr. Moore, but I think you both have really good skill sets that have been a yin and a yang to each other. And I think that's what's made it work so well. So I wish you all well. I know that a lot of times people, you know, get upset when they say, oh, you're retiring. I wish you the best. You deserve it. You've worked very hard your whole career, and I know your family wants you to retire. So good luck to you.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. At this time, board members would like to take a vote on the proclamation. May I get a motion?
Make a motion.
Second.
Okay. Gotta write it down somewhere. Not sure where. Okay. And that's Dr. Jones?
Ms. Rosario, and I was the second.
Okay. And all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? It passes 4-0. Thank you.
Can we get district staff to come up and cabinet to take a photo? And of course, Mr. Bass's family, if you'd come up and get in the photo too, we'll make sure that we get a photo too.
Stand up tall.
1, 2, and 3.
Dr. Moore, are you all done?
That concludes this portion of the agenda, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you, sir. All right, we're moving to citizen input. I'm going to read the guidelines at this time. Each statement made by a member of the public shall be limited to 3 minutes in duration. I will be recognizing an order to which the requests were received. The time shall start when the speaker is at the podium, and the public information officer will be the official timekeeper. As you see, the time clock is visible right here. You will hear a beep at the end of your 3 minutes. Please wrap up. Each person may speak for 3 minutes at the beginning of the business meeting during citizen input as indicated on the order of business, and for up to 3 minutes for each action item during the action item agenda, and each board member discussion item as indicated on the order of business. If a consent item is moved to an action item, when you come up to the podium, you may speak at that time or defer to speak during the presentation of the action item. People may only speak once, though, about any given item. The time period may be extended by the presiding officer. Only the individual submitting the speaker's form is allowed to address the board. Time may not be yielded to other speakers. During the meeting, please refrain from clapping or outbursts of any sort so that we may proceed with dignity and decorum by not infringing on anyone's First Amendment rights. I need to remind everyone to direct all comments to the chair, not to individual board members or to the superintendent. Board members may or may not address any citizen input statements at the end of the citizen input comments. As board members listen to citizens without interruption, citizens are asked to please give the board members the same respect. As per Florida Statute 1001.372, subsection 3, the presiding officer of any district school board may order the removal from a public meeting held by the district school board of any person interfering with the expeditious or orderly process of such meeting, provided such officer has first issued a warning that with continued interference with the orderly process of the meeting will result in removal. The first warning to everyone is at this time: no personal attacks, please, no inciting, and no disrespect. I will be calling you up two at a time. The first person will be called to the podium to speak. The second person will be in line to speak. Speakers shall not engage in personal attacks or abusive language. The chair has the right to terminate any speaker's privilege to address the board if that rule is violated. If you have anything to give to board members or the superintendent, please do through our executive assistant, Mrs. Morey. It is clear that the board has taken action to comply with the law regarding instructional materials, including library books. If you are here to express your opinion regarding HB 1069 on materials in school libraries, we ask that you visit the staff in the lobby out there to initiate the challenge process. Finally, the school district supports First Amendment rights of speakers and rights outlined in HB 1069 regarding library materials. As such, some individuals may choose to exercise these rights, which may include reading material with language or content that is not appropriate for all audiences. Knowing this, please make a viewing decision appropriate for you and your family. All right, at this time, yes, sir.
I just want to remind the board and the audience, we do have a policy that speaks specifically to signs and placards. They are not allowed. All right, here we go. I just want to remind the board and our audience members, we do have a policy that does not allow signs or placards. That's if you in the audience would ask if you do have one, that it not be used.
All right, thank you, sir. Okay, at this time, I'd like to call Margaret Murray, and she sent in an email, so is someone reading that, or is she here? Okay, and then Jennifer Pippin will be on deck. And both mics are open, right? Okay. Okay, thank you. You can go to either podium when you speak.
I see. In a time where so many people are tragically misinformed, I have some facts and data for you today. Findings from a recent December Southern Poverty Law Center survey of more than 1,100 Florida residents found Floridians overwhelmingly support public education. 4 out of 5 of Floridians surveyed said they support public education and think it's a right. One of the most striking statistics is this one. 92% of Florida parents say educational experts alone should be charged with writing curriculum. This means that actual teachers, educational policy experts should write curriculum, not Tallahassee politicians who in many instances have 0 classroom experience, 0 academic experience in educational policy, and 0 interest in solving the actual challenges facing students, teachers, parents across the state. This, of course, is in direct opposition to new state laws that dictate what students learn, what they read, and the manner in which they're taught. So to recap the survey, 4 out of 5 Floridians say public education is a right. 92% of Florida parents want public school curriculum created by educational pros. 87% of Florida parents support increasing funding to public schools. But this fact, 75% of Florida parents say it is more important that children have access to books and information that challenges their thinking or their personal experiences. So as an elected body, perhaps you should be listening to the majority of parents and residents of Florida in Indian River County, and not the small number of loud, negative voices that stifle parents' choices. The future of our community depends on rational, database findings, not culture wars. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Murray. No clapping, please. Ms. Pippin is next. Heather Askin is on deck.
Good evening. My name is Jennifer Pippin, and I'm the chairman of Moms for Liberty here in Indian River County. And I just wanted to give the board an update. I served as one of the 3 parents of the 6-person committee for the Department of Education update training for the library media. As memory serves, I served on the first committee for House Bill 1069 and serving on this additional committee. I did want to bring back to the board that the governor is looking at the frivolous challenges. Specifically in our district, the dictionary was challenged last year, and there was a book challenged earlier this month, and the short-term effects of that is the Department of Education is going to look into that with Governor DeSantis. The age-appropriate work group that was started when our work group started, it has kind of fizzled out. The Department of Education is looking back into why that group did not finish their work. So I'm glad here that we did not wait for that age-appropriate work group, because we would still be waiting 2 years later. Library books are instructional materials. The Department of Education did acknowledge that, and they are going to start working on that. There was some questions here in the district with district staff wanting possibly to separate the trainings between the library media and the instructional materials. But again, with further documentation provided to the Department of Education, we're going to get further guidance on that. And also the link to the PowerPoint is going to be updated with the new slides and information from our training, and also the additional information that the Department of Education is working on currently. They're hoping to have this approved before the start of school through the Department of Education, then the Board of Education for implementation of this coming school year. I also wanted to educate the public. I've had a lot of emails recently about some books that were challenged here at the district through our organization, saying that nudity in children's books in children's libraries do not fall in line with statute. I would like to provide that statute. It's 847.001(11). It starts with nudity means the showing of human male or female genitals, pubic area, or buttocks. Again, that applies to some of the books that were altered in our school district. They did draw clothing on some of those characters in the book so they could return to the shelves for children. And finally, I wish I would have known that the item was going to be added about the settlement. Just so everybody's aware, the liberal activists lost their case for the parental rights in education. They lost the appeal. The settlement was basically just spelling out in elementary form what that law said in its entirety. There was no changes to the law. There's nothing that's going to change in the state or with our school district in regards to the settlement. Thank you.
Okay, Heather Askin and Michael Marsh is on deck.
Hi, good evening. I'm a mother of a public school student, and I want to thank you all for what you're doing for the kids of our county. Coming from the background of having a father who was an administrator who went up through the ranks, and a mother who was a teacher before she chose to stay at home, and then a substitute teacher. I then went into education and then retired to become a mom full-time. I know that it's more than a 9 to 5, 8 to 4, it's weekends, evenings, and so it's not just all summer break. You're working during the summer also to plan. So that being said, I wanted to say that big thank you. I've come to the school board meetings with interest in regards to books and choice, and that's kind of what I wanted to address tonight. I hate moving backwards, but I did want to talk about what was said last meeting. It seemed necessary to put on record, for whatever reason, quote unquote, there was hoopla about rumors that no organization or group was responsible for banning books. Of course, there's not an organization that has the final say to make the decision to limit access to books in our library, but there is an organization leading the fight to challenge books in our county. The chairperson of Moms for Liberty has admitted challenging 242 books in Indian River County alone. At one school board meeting, in her words, she wanted to make a comment about the books, referring to challenging books, because you all know, meaning you all know on the board, that's my baby. Perhaps these rumors were mentioned to challenge the optics of what was coming down the pipeline. Moms for Liberty members now make up 3 out of 6 members of the Department of Education's work group that will be redeveloping an online training program for school librarians and media specialists, and they will now advise school districts on how to select titles and when to pull them off the shelves. So now maybe the hoopla and rumors have come true. There is an organization who will be responsible for limiting access to books in our county and the whole of Florida. There's one other thing that I'd like to address, and I'm really curious because I'm an interested parent and I'm very thankful for the education my son is getting at Vero Beach High School. It's a huge school. I'm not used to that, but the teachers are interested. I'd like to know more about the new classical model and what the plans are for that.
Thank you. Mr. Marsh, and Edward Holmes is on deck.
Michael C. Marsh. You know, I was going to come up here tonight as it was mentioned about my challenge to Dr. Seuss, and I was going to remind you about all the racial epithets and how much Seuss hated Japanese and blacks. But you know what? What's the point? Because then I would be feeding into the circus, right? So tonight, I'm going to talk to you about redemption and what that looks like. You know, just like how we gave Seuss a second chance, at what point do we give me a second chance? You know, I absolutely enjoyed the Black History Month / the Michael Marsh is a Criminal Month. And as we all know, that once upon a time, yes, I've seen a jail cell many times. And I tell you what, I'm damn proud of where I've been since. See, no one in this room has done what activist Michael Marsh has done. But I've shifted gears from activist to advocate. Because of some of the things I've done in this community, I can go and look at those 2 beautiful interracial queens at night and say, you know something? Sometimes justice is not just. And sometimes no is that next opportunity. I am very proud that I graduated not once, not twice, not 3, not 4, 5 times. Write that down for the next article, Mr. Kenny. 5 times. But you know what? What's more important to me, and I had this conversation through the chair when Dr. Moore first came, and Dr. Moore made good on this promise. I said, Dr. Moore, we always talk about how important it is to keep the substances away from kids, but when do we have the conversation of what life would look like as a convicted felon? Because we know that's the life that I led. Am I proud of all those arrests? Absolutely not. I beat everyone except for 3, Mr. Kenny. But at the end of the day, you know what it's about? Grabbing that teen and making sure that they don't have to lie on an application when they go for a job. That they don't have to figure out, can I get into a shelter with my kids? Oh, wait, I got a background from 20 years ago. So you know what I'm going to be? A solution waiting to happen. That promise is going to come true very soon, but I won't let the cat out the box. Not the Dr. Seuss cat, but the cat that I'm working on. Because I'll make certain there's not another Michael C. Marsh felon that has to go through what I went through. When FAU said, you've been arrested 8 times, I said 9, but who's counting? Because I never had someone grab me and say, what you do at 14, 15, 16, 17 will follow you for the next 3 decades to come. And that was me. But I turned my mess into a message. And I turned my test into a testimony. So I may not come back here. And I know there might be some applause, and maybe even from the dais. But when I do come back, I'm going to show you how I keep these kids out of the system. Because it's a system you will never get out of. Clemency. If you do your research, you will never live in the state of Florida and have that second chance. It wasn't given to me, damn it, I took it. And I'm proud. because I turned $700 to $50,000. And at the end of the day, Michael C. Marsh has left the building.
Thank you, sir. Edward Holmes and
And track the other two comment cards. Good night.
okay, and then Anthony Stewart is on deck.
Name is Edward Holmes. I'm the Vice President of Southern Christian Leadership Conference. And on January 29th of 2024, there was a public records request made by our president of our organization. And in this public records request, it was that I am requesting the names, authors, and ethnicity of all books that Moms for Liberty has removed from school libraries. Then on the meeting that was held on February 26, when Mr. Stewart brought the information that he had up, an email was sent out on the 27th to say that Anthony Stewart was incorrect in his information he presented to the board last night, and I wanted to clear up the misinformation again. I also CC'd him on this email as well as full transparency, and of course, you know, 22 other people received this email. Thank you, Ms. Rosario, for correcting the issue of what Governor DeSantis said about frivolous book challenges like the Bible, dictionary, and Roberto Clemente. Not the good work SDIRC is doing. Thank you for following the law and for the great policy and procedure governing our district. In fact, no books were banned, and there was way more than 39 books permanently removed from minor children in our schools in 2023. Not one book was removed because of the color of the author's skin. Not one book was removed for the color of the character's skin. This is flat out lies and misinformation. Shame on you, Mr. Stewart, for your lies at the podium to try to push your personal agenda on our community. If you are referring, supposition contrary to fact, if you are referring to the August 2023 meeting of the books removed, I implore you to go back, listen to the citizens' input starting at 59 minutes. If there indeed was any misinformation that Mr. Stewart gave, it was the misinformation that he was given. If Mr. Stewart is indeed, from these facts, a liar, then he was lied to, because all of the information came from public record requests. It is amazing that a group that started during the pandemic for COVID guidelines has grown to such proportions that they are willing to take back our school board. In the words of Tiffany Justice, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anthony Stewart, Thomas Kenny is on deck.
Yeah, my name's Anthony Stewart, and to kind of piggyback on what Mr. Holmes said, I gave each one of you all a folder that had a copy of the public records request, as well as the books that was supposedly banned. I did have a poster, this size, big size poster, to show the audience exactly the books that Mom for Liberty, according to the school board, had taken off. There was 39 books, number 1 through 39, but there was only 35 books that was, at that time, taken off the shelf, according to them. Out of the 35 books, once again, 8 authors of those books was black. My problem is that black authors only publish 5% of all the books in America. If you take 8 out of 35, you done took 25% of the books was black. You tell me you're not targeting them, and not only that, Ms. Rosario, I understand, is District 2. Now, she referred to Ms. Rosario, and she opened up that door. District 2, even though Indian River County is an A district, District 2 had 2 schools in there fell below C. Gifford Middle.
Sir, address us. Address us.
Gifford Middle and Dodgertown. Now, there are some problems I have with that, period, because there was not one book taken out of Dodgertown, and only one was taken from Gifford Middle that's on this list. Now, you tell me, is there someone being targeted? And again, Moms for Liberty name is ringing all over Southern Poverty Law Group. And they will be in Vero soon, because you can't keep doing this and don't expect national attention to get to you. They will get here. You can believe that. We're gonna have some changes. There was another poster. I had 5 posters. I had one poster of the Ku Klux Klan picture on it. I had one of Black Panther's picture. I had one poster of airborne unit in Vietnam that was propelling out the helicopter. I had one of you all, and I also had one of Moms for Liberty. And my question is, which of these pictures is a snapshot of America's melting pot and also one that has not been labeled as anti-democratic? And the only one on there was the one out of Vietnam. Because this is not a snapshot of America melting pot, no matter how you look at it. It is not, never. I was born and raised here. 75 years I've been here in Indian River County. And I have not yet seen one black county commissioner.
Thank you, sir. Thomas Kenny is next. Robert Conley is on deck.
How y'all doing? Mr. Bass, first time I met you, you were, I was wearing a hat from an election in Glades County that I was working on. And I always look on the sunset in Glades and go, wow, what a beautiful place. So you'll be happy to go back, hang out on the river. So congratulations to you. A little cleanup. First off, Moms for Liberty does not recommend books to any school district on, what to purchase or what to do. The only thing we do is find pornography. If we find the pornography is in the book and the book is in the library, we ask you to remove it. It's called a challenge. There's a process. One of the easiest ways to do that process is just to actually come up here to the podium and read it, because that's direct evidence. And we are in a board meeting where we supply evidence and give you guys ideas with evidence so you can make proper decisions. That's what public comment's all about. That's what action item comments are all about, everything. So, yeah, that's what we do, and we're very good at it because we do a lot of research. The research, the truth leads us where we end up here, presenting books, presenting ideas, presenting all these things that we do, because that's what the truth does. In regards to his comment about 20%, no, we didn't target African-American authors. We targeted pornography. I can tell you right now, all those books were removed by the board in a unanimous 5-0 vote that evening, because all they heard out of each title was pornographic content. 5 of them were not read that night because the people who came up with them they couldn't read them in public. They were so harsh. They were so graphically horrible. So pornography can be written by any color of a person. It can be participated in by any color of a person. And it can be taught by any color of a person. And it shouldn't be taught by any color of a person in the school system, or allowed, or participated in. We just had a sheriff who wasn't even, or a deputy, wasn't even in 24 hours on the job, graduated from this school system in 2022, asking girls for pornographic pictures on Snapchat. We're about cleaning house in regards to pornographic content and the behavior that comes with it. And we hope that is very clearly heard this evening. Thank you.
Okay, Robert Conley is next. Jennifer Freeland is our last speaker.
Thank you, board, for having me. Robert Chuck Conley, I go by.
About a year or so ago, I spoke here, and I want to go do a little year in review. I really enjoyed Dr. Moore's review. So I just thought some of the things I said during that time, and see where we stand after a year. People that know me in the groups that I address, sometimes I talk about we're here at this time and place for a reason. I firmly believe that. Everyone in this room at this time is here for a reason. We were destined to do something with our lives that means something. We're all God's children. We all we're blessed above the other animals on earth. We're God's children. We have the choice to be here and to do the right, to do right, you know. And natural laws and God's laws are what we follow. And that was part of my discussion almost a year ago. And it was the foundation for this great republic, is the Judeo-Christian values that we all share in this room. I know we all share it. I know there's differences. I know there's different ideologies. But guess what? In essence, we're all the same. And there's no reason why we can't share ideologies in a peaceful way and sit down and in a committee or a discussion and do something about it. And then I also talked about what was going on around the world and even in our county here. I use words like decadence, dysfunction, division in our little gem. And I see, I feel good that I see some daylight now. You know, there's some things that are happening that have changed, you know. Although some of the rhetoric in the newspapers, some of that hasn't changed, but our ideologies that we represent in this room, whether either side you're on, I'll go back that we're all people together. Take time to think about what uniqueness that each person has and what they believe in and where they came from and why they have that ideology, and you respect that. I love what Mr. Bass said about respect, that you guys have managed to do such a great job at. And by the way, that's also I said earlier last year that I'm proud to be part of the school district that does so many great things. So again, I'm running late like I did last year, but my main message is, before I forget, I love that we had the prayer when we started. That was a great addition. And I love all you guys for what you do. And everybody in this room, remember, we're here for him and ourselves, and we should serve each other with mutual respect and love. 24 seconds. What can I say better than that? 3 things. Books, whatever side you're on, doesn't matter. Wokeness. I talked a lot about Marxism, which I didn't get to today in 9 seconds. DEI is dying. Wokeness is slowing down. Good things are happening in our country. So let's enjoy it, and let's celebrate together in good faith. Thank you.
Jennifer Freeland will be our last speaker.
Save the best for last.
Good
Good evening to the board, Dr. Moore, and the cabinet. I want to take a moment to express my sincere appreciation to all our teachers for the extraordinary efforts you've put in this year. Your dedication and hard work are truly inspiring. As we approach the end of the 4th quarter tomorrow, remember a well-deserved break is just around the corner. Spring break is only 4 days away, so hang in there. Use this time to unwind, cherish moments with your family and friends, and rejuvenate. When we return, we'll face the final challenges of the year together, and I have every confidence in your ability to make it a success. You always make it happen, and I know you will again this year. You've got this. I also want to let you know that negotiations will be starting very soon. Please keep an eye out for an email and a survey later this week. Teachers, your input is invaluable as we work together to shape the future of our educational environment, and your voice matters, and we want to ensure that it's heard at the table. In addition, I want to extend my deepest gratitude to Mr. Bass for his unwavering support and guidance as we navigated through an introduction of a new model for negotiations and collaboration between IRCEA and SDIRC. Mr. Bass, your grace, patience, and open-mindedness during my transition into the role of president amid a COVID-19 shutdown and reopening have been nothing short of remarkable, unheard of, in fact. Your ability to listen and consider new ideas has been crucial in fostering a positive and productive working relationship. Your departure will leave a significant void, and your presence will be greatly missed. On a personal note, I agree. Our relationship couldn't be matched anywhere in the state. With that relationship, we've managed to start working on a whole new culture between our unions, and administration and SDRC. We've gotten a lot of work done. Over 27 pieces of language have been adjusted or created. I don't know what else to say except we'll miss you. I'll miss seeing you with the team. And I wish you and your family truly, truly a blessed retirement.
Okay, thank you. All right, board members, anyone want to speak to citizen input? Ms. Rosario?
Thank you. Responsible for writing curriculum.
Though, not that I'm aware of. Do they put together committees that have parents and educators on it? Yes. But I'm yet to meet a politician who's creating curriculum,
Okay, thank you. And-
designing curriculum.
Correct. The the curriculum writers write the curriculum, correct?
Mhm.
Okay. Are we limiting books in our county, in our school district?
There's no limiting books, no.
Thank you. Are we complying with the requirements to adhere to our standards?
Do we teach our standards? 100%.
Are we complying, thank you, sir. Are we complying to the rules to ensure that obscenity are not in our school?
I think we're leading from the front in that area, yes.
Perfect, thank you, sir. Has Moms for Liberty banned books in our county?
That would be the responsibility of the system itself.
Thank you, sir. Have there been challenges on sexual content or pornography in our books?
Yes, there have.
Some of our books, I guess.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So I could do that at all meetings. I mean, it's just incredible how, the misunderstanding of some of these things just happen, and I get it because there is misinformation everywhere, so I appreciate your willingness to answer. I will say, I'm not sure about the key findings that were provided to us in this survey. I mean, it was their own survey, which is fine, but one of the bullets states 92% of Florida parents and 90% of the general adult population want public school curriculum created by educational professionals. And I might say that's exactly correct. Maybe more, maybe 100% of parents who support public education want the curriculum to be created by educational professionals. That's my bet. It's one of the reasons why I say parental rights and parental choice is critical. So we have to support a parent's right to choose whatever is in the best interest of their child. I would also say there was another comment by I think his name is Mr. Holmes. I don't see him here, but I just wanted to thank him for his comments. And to Mr. Stewart, who I think left as well. Something Mr. Stewart said or implied was that the author's background and cultural makeup, or the author's, the books of the authors, or a comment regarding the authors of the books that were deemed inappropriate for our children. Dr. Moore, have we had any challenges? And to my recollection, we have not. Have we had any challenges regarding specific authors about their background, their cultural makeup, or anything of the like?
Every challenge we've had has been in association to a book.
Content of the book,
Yes.
not the author.
Nothing, no.
Okay, perfect. And then there was another comment about Dodgertown and Gifford Middle School that said that the implication was that maybe those schools were being targeted because no books were removed from those schools, or no books were found or challenged at those schools. I'm not sure where that information is coming from, but just to be clear, if no books were removed or found to have pornography or sexual content in a particular school, I would venture to say that's a good thing. Dr. Moore, your thoughts?
I think my response to the Dodgertown and Gifford was in regards to their school grade, which was inaccurate. There are no D or F schools in this district.
Okay, good. So there's no conspiracy, no one is being targeted. I'm glad for that. We certainly do not want to have that happen here in our school. And I think, Madam Chair, I am done with my comments there. Thank you.
Any other board members?
I just want to continue to thank citizens who come up and express their opinion or give facts. It's very important for the board to listen to everyone. Thank you.
Dr. Pasca, you good? Yep. All right, yes, thank you all for, sometimes it's not easy to come before a microphone, especially on a camera, so we appreciate that. All right, at this time, we're going to call for the action agenda. And the first one is approval of appointment of a citizen to the County Commission's Value Adjustment Board for this voting position. Okay, in reference to Florida State Statute 194.015, the Value Adjustment Board is an independent forum created by the Florida Statute, Chapter 194, to provide property owners with an opportunity to appeal their property value or denial of an exemption, classification, or tax deferral. The committee meets each year as needed, and the appointment will be effective upon approval of the county commission. So our approval then goes, I believe, to the county commission. Is that true?
The board itself, we're selecting a representative to serve on the board who would make a recommendation to the county
Because
commission.
the way this is worded, it says the appointment will be effective upon approval by the county commission. They approve this position?
No, we approve the position.
Okay, because it's written this way, so we need to make sure that that's, Ms. Morey,
I can't.
you understand what I'm saying? Okay. So Augustine Curran was appointed by the school board last year. The position is for calendar year tax cycle. And I know that we have brought this position forward before. Dr. Moore, would you like to speak about this?
No, the item is to, as it reads, to select the one individual who has submitted her name for consideration. We had staff as well as legal review the requirements, and this individual meets all the requirements and is able and willing to serve in this position for us.
Is Andy Shepherd here tonight? Okay, so she's not in the audience. All right, I'd like to call for a motion then to appoint Andy Shepherd to the Value Adjustment Board position for the school board.
So, go ahead.
Make a motion.
Second.
And second is Jones. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Now it's saying discussion, but I think we don't have the person here, so unless anybody knows her and would like to speak. Okay. Okay. All right, then with that, then we just voted in Angie Shepherd for this position to serve for the school board. We appreciate her service. All right. Dr. Moore, you have a second item. It is the code of conduct change.
I do have that, but we may want to approve the consent agenda before I present that item.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's not here, so, all right. I'll call for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So move.
Second.
Okay, that's Jones. Tosca. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? 4-0. Okay. Dr. Moore, now from the action agenda item, we already voted on the first one, so you have a second one?
Yes, ma'am. Based on the conversation that the board had this morning or this afternoon during its workshop, there was a discussion regarding adding a simple statement to our student dress code. So when it goes out for public hearing, the code of conduct, which incorporates the dress code, when it comes back, it would have the appropriate amount of time to be available to our public prior to your final approval. So by adding the following statement to Section 5, yes, page 42, we would be able to enforce or give our principals the ability to enforce the wearing of our student IDs. We are simply adding to the dress code this simple bullet: student identification cards must be worn on their person and visible during the instructional day and while utilizing SDIRC transportation to and from school. The first offense for noncompliance, the student will be given a verbal warning, and parent-guardian contact will be made. Second offense, the student is eligible to participate in extracurricular activities for up to 5 days. And the third consequence leads ultimately to suspension for continuous defiance. So this allows us to have that safety measure in place while at the same time providing a system for our school site administrators to hold students accountable for wearing this ID system. That is the item.
Okay. Board members, could I get a motion to approve this?
Make a motion?
Okay, Ms. Rosario with the first, Dr. Posca with the second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone like to discuss the item?
I just had a comment. I just wanted to thank Dr. Moore and Cabinet for adding this on there. I'm glad we were able to see it. I think it was perfect timing for us to be able to discuss this earlier today, add it on there, and still be able to bring it back at the April meeting. So thank you for doing that.
Ms. Barrymore?
Yes, go ahead.
When I brought this up this morning, when we talked about safety, I think it's absolutely crucial. And as long as our parents and students know this going in, because we used to do this, and I think it's even more important in today's world, especially with our safety and security issues. Thank you.
I just have one question about them. Do they have a breakaway?
Absolutely.
Okay. Because if a child gets caught on the bus or whatever, okay.
Oh, I have a question. It's probably, you already know, I mean, you all probably have the answer, but for a student who has touch sensitivities, if there's autism, if there is any kind of OCD, if there's anything, with regard to having the lanyard around them, are there alternatives?
There's accommodations, pins, clips that they could use. So administrators are very
Okay.
skilled in making sure that happens.
Perfect, thank you.
Okay, moving on to discussion. The first one is Ms. Rosario added public comment. You want to discuss that with board members?
Yeah, I do. We have a policy, I've brought this up before, that is very clear about public participation at our board meetings. One of the things that is specific in here is ensuring that public participation is allowed for citizens based on what is printed on the agenda. So it actually says in our policy, let me pull up, sorry. Let me look at the citizen guideline, the speaker's forum, and our policy. The policy is 0169.1, and it actually states that members can talk to any item that the board is going to take action on as indicated on the order of business. As indicated on the order of business is when they walk through the door, the order of business is printed on the agenda prior to coming in here, as indicated on the order of business. It's not the order of business that has been changed after we gavel in. And so that's not limiting citizen comment. We've had this discussion, and I just want us to be sure that we are following our policy. The other concern that I have is that citizens can talk to discussion items. And that was added in 2022. One of the things about talking during discussion items that I have a concern with is that citizens are coming up and discussing things that we haven't even discussed yet. So the assumption is they're just looking at a title, and I guess they're assuming what we're going to discuss when we haven't had an opportunity to discuss it. My second point is we don't take formal action in discussion. We don't allow formal citizen comments during workshop time. When we are discussing during workshop, we should do the same during our business meeting. And so I'd like to ask our attorney to come back and to do legal analysis on this, or to give us a legal opinion on those items, so that we can revisit this and ensure that we're following the policy. Discussion items are not items in which we are talking through or being proposed. The word is a proposition, where we are taking formal actions on a proposition. That's what's in the law. Our policy actually tells us what a proposition definition is, and it says that a proposition is an item before the board for a vote, and includes, but is not necessarily limited to, all the items on the agenda. And that would be consent, obviously. So this is where I put it on the agenda, because we've had people come up time and time again, just want to willy-nilly put things on an agenda, and it's just all over the place. And then, this is a board meeting. This isn't a, open town hall discussion about just anything that you want. And it really should be about the items that are before us. So anyway, I would like our attorney to call it legal analysis or a legal opinion, or whatever you will, but if you can come back to us, of course, after board discussion on this, and give us your opinion. You weren't here when this policy was changed, so I would appreciate that, sir.
Any other board members like to discuss that?
I guess I'll add, I think we've kind of already had this conversation in the past a little bit. I think specifically the input on discussion probably does not make sense, and we've seen time and time again, when someone does come up and speak to that, they don't even know what they're speaking to. Right. And half the time they will come up and not speak to the item, essentially. So it does interfere with the business. And then as far as following the policy, I'd be interested to hear the legal opinion on that.
Dr. Jones?
When you look at the first line of the policy, public participation, says the school board recognizes the value to school governance of public comment on educational issues in the importance of allowing members of the public to express themselves on school matters of community interest. So, the first thing I think about, it might not be on the agenda, but it might be of community interest or school matters. So I'd want to look closely at that. As far as discussion, right, when we bring that up as a board member, it may not pertain to what that person thinks it is, so I could look at that. But I just want to make sure, because it may not be on the agenda, but it could be a community interest, that we don't deny that. That's the one thing I might be concerned about.
Yeah, I have a concern with limiting people's free speech. So sometimes people, when they're speaking at citizen input, something comes up during the meeting, and then when we go to an action item, they say, oh, I wish I was able to speak to that, or discussion. Had I known they were going to talk about that, I would have liked to have spoken to it, because literally, citizen input is getting input from, citizens to tell us, how they feel about certain topics. So I have a hard time limiting citizen input and their right to speak. I know that we had workshopped this a long time, and we looked at this form for citizen input many, many times. Dr. Jacobs put us through a lot on that, and we put her through a lot to be able to all agree to this form. And I know, Mr. Rosario, you agreed to the form at the time. So I'm not sure what's changed that you want to limit citizen input. But I think before we have one board member direct the attorney to do some work, which, you know, would be costing the board, we need to have all board members kind of in consensus with this. So,
Not all, consensus is not all.
well, we've got 4 people,
Yeah,
so we need 3 of us.
yes. And,
That's almost
and
all.
by the way, this is discussion, this isn't an action item.
I understand, but you're directing the attorney. I'd like to hear from the other board members to see if they agree that the attorney should do this work.
Yeah, it's perfectly acceptable for Jackie to ask a legal question to the attorney. So I don't know.
Well, legal questions,
Yeah,
one
that's what
thing.
she
Going
did.
back and redoing all this with research is another.
No, it's a basic question. She's asked if we're following the policy as written, and, I mean, objectively, it appears we may not be. So I think it's a pretty obvious question. She doesn't need board approval to ask an attorney a question.
Okay. Well, my interpretation was it wasn't a question, it was research, because that was the word that was used. So it's a little different, a little costly. I'm not against it. I'm not against it. I'm not saying that. I just want to be very careful when the board is suggesting that we direct the attorney to do something. That's all. Dr. Jones?
I'm fine with it all, except that I think there's a good point on discussion, to whether we have someone come up for discussion, but everything else I'm fine with.
Okay, if that's the case, then I think we also need to look at the citizen input form, because that goes right along with probably we're doing. So that would be another thing I think to add to research then, is looking at our citizen input form to see if it aligns with what we decided. Because we went through this fine tooth and comb for hours, not so long ago. I don't know if you were on the board when we did that. You were. So it was within the last year and a half. Okay. Maybe. All right, Dr. Jones.
Thank you, Mr.
1557.
Ansbacher, thank you for that.
Thank you. Yes,
I'm sorry.
oh, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, Madam Chair. I think Mr. Ansbacher wanted to say something.
No, I actually just wanted to say this is a surprisingly short work product, just for what it's worth. It's very binary.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, I asked Dr. Moore, or I relayed to Dr. Moore and Mr. Ansbacher, I wanted to bring this up because there were so many questions and so many calls that I received on House Bill 1557 settlement, the Parental Rights for Education bill. News broadcasts, questions and settlement agreements, calls. And then I know there was a email to superintendent, and he was supposed to share with principals. So Mr. Ansbacher, could you settle, or for summary, for our school district and our parents and our community and our teachers had questions. I did not want to do that. What this settlement agreement basically says. And it was between, I believe, Equality Florida and then the state of Florida and the State Board of Education, Florida Department of Education. So if you could do a summary so we can make sure, and then I want to hear from Dr. Moore and how he's relaying that to principals.
This is one of several related cases where questions have been raised, whether standing or scope, in federal court, because the Office of the Attorney General has said that people who have sued ironically, in light of the unrelated discussion we just had, based on what they thought the statute said as opposed to what it actually said. And the position of the Office of the Attorney General is that the 22 legislation created a new subsection in 100142, subsection 8C3, that, quote, limits classroom instruction by school personnel or third parties on sexual orientation or gender identity in Florida's public schools, kindergarten through grade 3, or in a manner that is not age appropriate or developmentally appropriate for students in accordance with state standards. And the complaint in this case was dismissed, an amended complaint was dismissed. It was taken up to the 11th Federal Circuit Court of Appeals in Atlanta, and the parties reached a settlement, the heart of which is in paragraph F, and basically recites much of what the position of the Attorney General was in the case. Noted that the statute was amended essentially in order to respond to the perception that one or more districts were not notifying parents, and that there was volunteering of information regarding the curriculum, the instruction related to gender identity and sexual orientation. And subsection F really drills down on instruction and classroom instruction, saying that instruction is the action, practice, and profession of teaching, and the statute restricts only instruction that occurs in a classroom setting. Classroom instruction, as quoted, and this is basically out of the Attorney General's pleadings, is the formal work of teaching that occurs in a classroom setting. Statute restricts classroom instruction only if it is on sexual orientation or identity. So, as the settlement agreement states, and again quoting to what the Attorney General position was, accordingly, the statute restricts only teaching on the topics of sexual orientation and gender identity in a classroom setting. And it goes into greater detail, and I think that the Department of Education General Counsel transmittal will expand on this. I will note that the point of several of the comments in here is by way of example to say what instruction is not. They point out that typical class participation in schoolwork are not instruction. Even if the student chooses to address sexual orientation or gender identity, the statute would leave teachers free to respond if students discuss their identities or family life, provide grades and feedback if a student chooses LGBTQ identity as an essay topic, answer questions about families. For kindergarten through grade 3, they simply must not handle these situations by teaching the subjects of sexual orientation or gender identity. Essentially says it doesn't prohibit instruction against bullying people with one or two moms, doesn't prohibit mere references to moms and dads or any combination thereof. And what they point out is the non-discrimination is supposed to be gender neutral and viewpoint neutral, that after third grade, it says, I'll just quote rather than paraphrase, the statute applies equally regardless of viewpoint. Put differently, the statute restricts classroom instruction on sexual orientation and gender identity, not homosexuality and gender and transgender identity. For example, it would violate the statute to instruct students heterosexuality is superior or gender identity is immutable based on biological traits. So it basically, and these are quotes out of briefs from the Attorney General's office. So there's a question also as to, there's a reference in the statute that says third parties can't teach. What they're saying, the reason for the statement about third parties is to prevent being done indirectly what cannot be done directly, that you can't bring in someone to essentially be a guest teacher and discuss these topics. The comment in F, the statute does not restrict debate, only classroom instruction. For example, the statute does not restrict student-to-student speech, doesn't prohibit classroom reference to a person's family, gay or straight, transgender or cisgender, doesn't restrict gay and transgender teachers from family photos on desks, referring to themselves or spouses or children, does not prohibit intervention against LGBTQ bullying, does not require removal of safe space stickers, which are not classroom instruction, doesn't prohibit extracurricular activities such as Gay Straight Alliance or book fairs. It doesn't restrict lines referring to LGBTQ issues in musicals, dancing between persons of the same gender at a school dance, wearing clothing inconsistent with gender assigned at birth. And again, this is straight out of the Attorney General. None of that is classroom instruction. Then there's a subsection saying library books. Library books without more are not classroom instruction and are thus not covered by the statute. And notes in footnote 2, library materials are separately governed by section 100628 Florida statutes. And the gist is this is to be implemented through council by FDOE, providing a copy of the agreement, including the recitals set forth above, to school districts. Superintendents are to distribute this to principals, and there are some miscellaneous things, but really the gist is the adoption essentially of positions that the Attorney General has thus far taken in every federal case, in every state case that I think has been removed to federal court. And that is in terms of 100142, that strictly speaking, that new subsection from 22 prohibits classroom instruction is statutorily defined. That includes the two prohibited topics. And that's it.
Dr. Moore, or Mr. Ansbacher, when has the FDOE, when is that going to come out to you, the superintendents, as far as their report, I guess you could say? Do you know when that's expected?
I assume as soon as possible, because it's clear this is a thoroughly developed settlement agreement, and I would expect any time now. I have a call into Judy Bone, who's Deputy GC at DOE on several matters. This is one of those questions.
Dr. Moore, have you talked to principals, or are you just waiting for that directive from FDOE?
Through the chair, this information was sent to superintendents mid last week or late last week. And as requested, it was sent to principals. I do have principals Wednesday where I'll be able to clarify and answer any questions they may have.
I just want to make sure that we're following the law, and our teachers and parents and community know about it. That's all.
That's it? All right.
Ms. Rosario.
Mine's not red. Mine's red.
No, it doesn't go that far. Thank you for reading that. It's my understanding that everything that you read is still the same as what it is now. I mean, what we knew before this opinion was you just couldn't teach it. Everything else was acceptable or allowable except the direct instruction of gender identity and sexual orientation. So there's nothing more that is significantly different other than other than the Attorney General adding some of the things that are and are not allowable. But otherwise, all of that would have been assumed anyway. I mean, to me, it was just, I would have those conversations, those questions asked, can they talk about? Of course you can. The teacher just cannot provide direct instruction on. So it doesn't seem very different. I mean, it's not like there's, massive change here. It's not like anything is significantly changing. No, wait a minute. I'm still talking, so, because I see he is thinking.
No, I was listening. Is that in the form of a question?
No, I mean, I think it's kind of, I mean, am I correct? I mean,
No, that's why I keep saying.
maybe I should-
I'm quoting straight from
Right.
the filings of the Attorney General. The thing I just want to point out, and I've mentioned this previously, is the Office of the Attorney General has taken positions in multiple federal cases so far that have differed from county school districts in saying, this is how we read it, and until a court says otherwise, we are essentially, putting it too simply, but we're the law. This is the position they've taken. I think to the extent there's any clarification, it's the first time to my knowledge that this is actually going to be incorporated in a resolution, because part, I think, of what a couple of the cases that have dragged on have been, has not been the state position, but that Lake and Escambia, and particularly Escambia, thought it went farther than the state thought it did. And so I would say, on balance, your point is accurate.
Yeah, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, as far as I was able to see, even the Department of Education attorney said the law is not changing. Interpretation of the other parts around that law might be clarified through that opinion, but otherwise the actual law is not changing. I do have a hypothetical, which I'm sure as lawyers you hate hypotheticals, but hypothetically, if the statute, the current statute, statutes were to change to include language that would say library books are considered classroom curriculum, or library books are considered an extension from the classroom and therefore are classroom curriculum, can be part of classroom, any of those kinds of things. If that were to happen, then the one part on that opinion would then therefore change. Because where it says, the opinion said library books are not classroom material and therefore are not included. But if the current statutes do change in the future, if the state legislature takes that up and says, yes, we want to determine that that library books are an extension of the classroom and therefore considered curriculum.
If the question is, as I understand it, I have two answers.
Okay.
One is, of course, if it is amended, you read it as it's amended, but you also have to note that the language that the Attorney General used and that's incorporated in the settlement is library books without anything more are not instructional materials and are subject to 1006-28, which of course we've reviewed. And I think that indicates if the library materials are used as part of curriculum, maybe that's something different. But purely as library materials and nothing more, the position of the Attorney General right now is go to 1006-28 for library materials, and the several curriculum statutes, well, actually, no, I don't want to overstate it. The only one they really have taken a direct position on really is this one.
Okay.
And anything that I've said otherwise has been by inference, and as I have said to this body before, if the DOE or the Attorney General takes a different position, we are duty-bound to follow it.
Thank you. And Dr. Moore, can you please send that to us, or Mr. Ansbacher?
Sure.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
One of us.
All of us. One of you send it to all of us.
Yeah, one other thing, I know I've heard some concerns that teachers, I think that the definition of direct instruction needs to be very clear, because direct instruction can mean a couple of different things to different people. I think the original concern that I was told by some people was, what if a student comes out to you and wants to talk about something that this is in line with? They were so afraid they were going to get arrested or something like that. So I think that clarity still needs to be out there, because there's still some concern about that.
And I would suggest you have to read that together with the Parents' Bill of Rights statute. And that's why both Dr. Moore and I think, have received our copies from associations. We got ours on the school attorney blog. I really am looking forward to seeing what the general counsel has to say. But yeah, I'm sorry, we should have distributed that before, and we will do so, one or the other of us, before tomorrow.
Just one thing. I'm just grateful that this came out with the specific questions, because people weren't sure and they didn't want to break the law, and they were a little bit fearful if they said something, would that be against the law? So I'm very glad that these specifics came out for our teachers who are in the classroom every day. And when the DOE sends out something next, I'll be glad for that, just so that we know nobody's breaking the law, we're following the statute, and it just gives a little bit more specifics on the answers.
Well, I stand corrected on one thing. Apparently, Dr. Moore did get his from the GC, but I understand the general counsel is supposed to be issuing something regarding how to implement it, and that's what I'm waiting on.
Thank you.
We're at Members Matter. Dr. Preston? Nothing? Dr. Jones?
Yes. Where's Mr. Green? Where'd he go? I stepped into a budget meeting. I was at the district office the other day, and the format was great. The principals were liking the procedure. I'm not sure they liked what their final budget was, but it was a really good thing, because you had finance in there, HR in there, C&I in there, pre-K, all at the table. So if there are any questions, it was right there, and I'd not seen that like that before, so it's good. This happened after our last meeting. The African American Student Council presentation at Vero Beach High School was wonderful. It was after school. Told Mr. Hart, next time we've got to get it at night for the community. Dr. Moore, it was wonderful. I think they taped it, but, and also I'd like to see maybe some of our history classes see it also. Vero baseball's going well. We talked about their trip going to DC. They're excited. The elementary track, Miss Lucas Wilson is running that at Sebastian River High School. It's in April. That's a fun event for everybody to get to. The college and career night at Vero Beach High School, I didn't get up to Sebastian, but Dr. Moore and Miss Baser, I saw you there. It was really great, especially when you go into those breakout sessions and parents learn a little bit more about applications and financial help. One thing everybody has to get to next year, it's like a mini Prism, is the Night of Enchantment at Fellsmere. She was one of our our teacher finalists, Miss Courtney, and what she has done in 3 years there with that program is absolutely outstanding, and probably one of the best nights of the year for me. I am on a couple scholarship committees, and most of those are due right around March 15th time. Some of them have a little bit more time, but seniors start going on that. Community Resource Fair with Team Success, I think there were about 100 nonprofits there. Saw a lot of the district staff there, and what this community does, Dr. Moore, for our children and their wraparound services is wonderful. Fellsmere Planning and Zoning, always a great event. Executive Roundtable this week, and actually that's tomorrow where we talk about some things coming to Indian River County. I'm excited for that, so thank you. I'm good.
Okay, Mr. Zarn?
Happy spring break, everyone. Coming up soon.
Yes. Is that all?
That's it.
All right. I had 3 things. The homeless forum I attended was offered by the United Way. It was eye-opening. I learned a lot. We have, and we thankfully, Karen Mallitz does this, heads it up, but her group that she works with has developed on our website all kinds of resource pages that are there for homeless opportunities for people to spread the word. And our logo is not at the top so that somebody can give it to somebody or an organization that needs it. So we need to spread that message that that information is out there. And it was really good. Met a couple people in town that are really trying to coordinate things. So I know that there's a plan for that. So that was positive and exciting to see. Agnes Peoples interviews. I sat with both principals last week, and we got to meet some outstanding young ladies. Couple that wanted to go into finance, but the majority wanted to be doctors. So it was really encouraging to see that. But today I got to meet a girl that wants to be an astronaut. Ooh. And I think she will be. I was really, really impressed with her. And Doreen and I got to meet her over at St. Ned's today, and she was a dynamo. So I'm excited for the vision that these girls have in their own lives. They're very, very determined. So it's really nice that we have so many girls that are determined that applied for this scholarship. And then the ESC Advisory Council has grown. I remember attending that last year, the year before, and it's just a handful of people, and now we have an entire TEC filled with people. So it was really nice to see. Good job, Dr. Moore, on growing so many things, not just our academics, but the way that people can give input, and we accept that input from the community. So I think that's important. So kudos to you and your staff. That's all I have. Dr. Moore?
Just want to, I thank the county commissioners and our county administrator for allowing us to use this space, but need to thank our team who picked up our entire show and moved it over here, and that's not an easy lift. So Dorian, Michelle, Kristen, Dr. J, Dr. Began, Chris in the back, although I think he enjoyed it because he's not in the control room. I just thank you. So much extra work to make this happen. You guys made it. We just came in, sat down, and had our board meeting. So thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you to the staff working back there, and also to our staff for all this changing. It was a nice change, I think.
It was.
But, you know, I think we gave up our space for very important things, so make sure you get out and vote if you can. And I'd like to thank everyone for viewing or coming tonight. And at this time, unless there is an objection, I'm going to adjourn the meeting at, what time is it? 8:12.
Thank you.